everyone that's been waiting to join or has joined. We're going to check out in terms of if we have any attendees here so far. So I think I'll give it a few minutes if you guys are okay with that, Mike and
Yeah.
Cheyenne, and then we'll wait for a few attendees. And once we have them, then I think we can um, begin. We have one here. We have Ramiro. So I think that we're good, and they'll start rolling in here quickly. All
Okay,
good?
sounds good. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Ramiro, thank you for joining our webinar today. I have Mike here from SkipMatrix, and this is me, Mia, from Launch Control, and also Cheyenne is with SkipMatrix as well. And today we're talking about, well, kind of the webinar is surrounding data to replies. So the importance of having good quality data, the importance of having segmented data, having clean data, and just investing in a really good quality data provider. And so Mike is gonna go over some of the, yeah, we're super excited too as well, Brendan. So awesome. Thank you for joining. But yeah, Mike is gonna go over just a few points in terms of showing you SkipMatrix and going over some segmentation points and things that he really wants to cover and outline in terms of how and what to look for in data. And then I will go over how that goes into Launch Control, the platform that enables you to send um, messages. But in order to get results, you need to have the good quality tools to use the platform. So with that being said, I will take it over to Mike. You can do a short introduction and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mia.
No
Um,
worries.
so yeah, my name's Mike. I'm the one of the founders and the CEO of SkipMatrix. We've been in business since about 2020, January 2020, so going on about 6 years now. And our whole mission has been to provide better contact enrichment data, also referred to as skip tracing data. So reliable, accurate phone numbers, email addresses, current mailing address, and as much people data as we can give you to help power your campaigns in marketing and sales. Cheyenne is also with me on the call. She's our COO. She's also my wife. Little fun fact. And
Oh, awesome. Oh my God, I didn't know that. You just surprised me with that.
it's why we share the same last name. So
See, I didn't,
um,
because I think she came in as Cheyenne, just that, and I didn't catch on to the same last name.
there you go. All right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we just want to go through what kind of makes, we want to start off with what makes SkipMatrix unique, what makes our data unique. There's a lot of skip tracing companies and data companies that provide data like this, for sales and marketing use cases. But we really try to approach things differently. We approach things with a different philosophy to get you connected with more people. So I want to break that down and explain sort of the difference with that. So getting into it first, one of the main things that we prioritize is depth. So a lot of skip tracing companies might give you one phone number, maybe three phone numbers. They don't give you a whole lot of data to work with. We feel that that really limits what you can do and your strategies for your campaigns. So first and foremost, I'll just break down all of the different data that you can get from SkipMatrix for the people that aren't already familiar. So for the main prospect that you're getting data from, we're going to give you up to 5 phone numbers, the phone numbers that we consider to be the top 5. We give you also up to 5 email addresses. We give you their current mailing address, which is in sync with the United States Postal Service. So that's good for direct mail campaigns and whatnot. And we also give you up to 5 of their relatives and up to 5 of their associates. And for each of the relatives and associates, you're going to get the same data points. So you'll get up to 5 phone numbers, up to 5 email addresses, and their current mailing address. That's the primary point of contact data that we provide. We also have some other data points, which I'll get to in a second. But that's the stuff that you're primarily going to use for marketing. And just to break down and explain what the relatives and the associates are. So relatives, pretty straightforward, pretty intuitive. That's going to be, wife, spouse, sibling, parent, child. And we actually will have the data point in there that says the likely relationship type. So likely relationship type will tell you what we believe they are a spouse. We have a good reason to believe they're a spouse, a child, whatever that might be. So yeah, this is a really good way you can segment your data in a unique way that a lot of people don't even give you the data to work with that. And a lot of your competition is not even going to be touching that either. So it gives you a much more competitive edge, and it increases your probability of reaching the prospect or a decision maker, especially if it's a spouse. So we'll get into that a little more later.
Yeah.
And then for the associates, that's going to be the neighbors of the prospect. That's going to be a coworker or colleague. Sometimes it's even a distant relative. It could be like a second cousin. We actually had a customer one time told us they got a deal off of associate number 5. It was like third cousin or something. It was a really distant connection, but they were like, "Oh yeah, that's so and so," and they had a whole conversation and ultimately got them in connection with the person, and I think even kind of warmed them up with the person and helped them get a deal. So I always tell people, don't discount that data. We're giving you all of that data included with the cost. So that's just free game, free value. It gives you the tools, if you know how to use them, to go out there and increase your probability of contacts and getting more leads. So really important. And then something else that makes our data unique is we have a different ranking philosophy for how we rank our data that a lot of vendors don't really approach in that same way. So for example, with most skip tracing companies and people data companies similar to us, the philosophy is more investigative. So it'll be more like when they're looking at phone 1 through 5 of what they consider phone 1 through 5, it's more of a phone history concept. What is the first number? What is the one they currently have? What was the second to last, and so on. But that doesn't really logically make much sense if you're trying to contact that person. You can get the phone history, but I don't want the second to last wireless phone number of the person I'm trying to reach if they don't have that number anymore. If it hasn't been reported in 5 years or whatever. Now you're going to be calling phone 2 if you follow that approach, and it might have been that person's phone 2. It might have been the second to last number, but when you get them on the phone, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know, that's not me, wrong number." And so you're going to perceive that as bad data, even though technically it was phone 2 for that person. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes someone could have 2 working phone numbers associated with them. So you could get a phone 1 and a phone 2 that is a current working number. It's just not as common, of course. And so the way we approach our ranking philosophy is a bit different. We're not really focused on investigative services. We're focused on sales and marketing use cases. A lot of the customers we work with are real estate professionals, primarily. They're not trying to investigate these people in that way as the traditional skip tracer would. They're trying to make contact with the prospect, and so they want to have meaningful conversations with decision makers. So without getting too much into the secret sauce that I can't really give away on everything, I will just say that we approach our philosophy different to get you more. The phones will be ranked to get you in touch with a decision maker, someone close to that person. And so we also pull from premium data sources. We pull from dozens of sources where we aggregate our data before we rank it, before we clean it. Data hygiene is big for us. I think one of the things a lot of our customers really actually like with working with us is the data is not raw and messy. It comes back to you very intuitive and very clean, which I will show here in a little bit. We'll go through some of the data so you can see a sample of what that looks like. So yeah, that's really at a high level. That's a little bit about what makes us unique. That's our philosophy and kind of what makes us different. Another thing with a lot of our, I guess you could say, competitors, other vendors in the market selling similar data, it's a race to the bottom on price. So that's really, they can't compete on the quality because they don't have the quality a lot of the time. So they're cutting corners, to pull that data, and that allows them to get it at the cheapest price. And then the only way they can really compete is also just, competing on price. So you see a lot of free skip tracing right now. You see, 2-3 cent skip tracing. Essentially, you get what you pay for, with this stuff. If they're selling it to you for that, then what are they getting it for? It has to make sense. They're not giving it away. And even at 3 cents, like as someone very close to this industry, we know the costs of maintaining high quality data and pulling it regularly. That's another thing. And a way that they cut corners is, yes, it does. Some of it does come from credit bureau data sources. Just answering that question. So Yeah, so as Cheyenne said, not all data is created equal. I think this is a common misconception that a lot of people have. They mistake it for, hey, it's all coming from the same place, right? Let's just get the cheapest price. That's definitely not true. It's how many sources. It's if you have exclusive partnerships and arrangements to get access to those sources. It's how often you pull the data and refresh it from those
Yes.
sources, and that is absolutely imperative to accuracy and reliability. Some of these companies can get away with it because if you think about it logically, most people don't change their phone numbers very often. So it could have been updated a year ago, 2 years ago, and you might still get some good numbers in there. But especially when it comes to sales and marketing use cases, our primary customers, especially real estate,
Hmm.
a lot of these people that are that you're calling, they're being called by a ton of people. They're much more likely, they're being basically bombarded by calls. So they're much more likely
That's
to
right.
change their numbers and stop the harassment. So that's where there's a big gap in the vendors that aren't providing up-to-date info. So it's very important that you have fresh data. There's a cost that comes with it internally. This is why we're never going to be the cheapest. We are positioning ourselves as the premium option.
That's right.
But if I gave you an example, and let's say you're pulling 10,000 records that you want to skip trace, right, for a campaign. So you could pay 6 cents and you're going to pay $600, or you could pay 12 cents, double the cost, you're paying $1,200. So there's a $600 difference in your data cost. But especially in real estate, what is the average profit that you make on a deal? Most of these deals are $5, 10, $15,000, especially for these wholesalers. And so I think every single one of our customers that really understands the value would gladly pay that difference in $600 to do another deal, to do two more deals, to have more contacts. You're making so much more on your ROI that way. So you're only as strong as your weakest link. You really want to have strong,
That's right.
yeah,
We say the same thing. Yeah.
you have to have good tools. You have to have strong data and a good system in place. You can have the best closers in the world. You can have the best scripts. You can have the best everything else. But if there's one thing that's really lacking, and you're still going to hit those dead ends, and you're still going to run into those same problems.
That's right. That's right. And like when you were talking and explaining some of the things is literally what we tell to our users that are over here at Launch Control. I mean, we do the same thing. We are positioning ourselves and we are adding that value where people they're not just paying for the service or for the platform, they're paying for the people with it, for the actual white glove service and value that they get. And so I completely understand, and that's where I think we're aligned as well. And on the thing you said, I mean, everything that you mentioned is literally what we tell people when they're like, oh, it's not working, like I'm not getting results. And I asked them, like,
Mhm.
okay, is your data clean? Is that something that you've done before? Are you scrubbing it? Are you, do you have someone to help you clean it up? Or if, when we do like we have a called the first live batch send with users where we literally send the first messages with them. And one of the most common roadblocks we get into is they come to us with a list where we're like, where do I look? Where do I start? There's
Yep.
10 names and they're all the same, and 500 people have landlines and only two have phone numbers. And we're like, okay, this is why it's important to have clean, up to date, good quality data. And
Mhm.
if you are paying for data, you might as well pay for something that's of good quality, that's clean, that you have a support system behind you. You're not just purchasing a list and then you're left out in the open. You're actually also purchasing the support you get with it, to help clean the
Mhm.
data, to get the most up-to-date data, to help with segmentation. Just like with us, where we do a lot of like real estate education and we do a lot of market research and we help people segment that data when they come to us if they want to segment it further or something like that. I completely agree with everything you said, that you get what you pay for. So
Mhm.
same
Yeah.
thing there. So I just wanted to comment that is literally the same thing that we tell to users when they get on the strategy session with us.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Shine. Sorry.
I, I will say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And especially like as a company who has built a product with painstaking detail.
Yeah,
I talk to customers, I talk to people who are also business owners. How you do one thing is how you do everything, including where you start with your transactions. So if you're
that's right.
purchasing data and you're trying to do that cheap, you're trying to do that and cut corners, you're probably doing that everywhere else in your company. So it's like you have to make sure that if the core center of your business, which is data, is something you're going to cut corners on, you have to be okay with your ROI being cut corners as well. So if you're trying to have the highest
That's
ROI,
right.
the highest success rate, you have to make sure that at least the core fundamentals of your company being successful is the data. Don't cut corners on that. Invest in that so that
Yeah.
way your ROI is higher than your competitors.
Yeah.
That's right. Completely agreed. Completely agreed. And like one more thing to add there before I give it back to you, Mike, is like that we tell them that as well. When you pay for those leads or when you pay for that data, you might look at it as like per row. But when you think about it, every one of those, let's say, leads that you get or potential leads that you get, if they're not good quality, if they're not up to date, you're wasting that money. And if you take a look at from how
100%.
many messages you sent to how many people responded to what are the deals closed, there's a
Yeah.
big loss if you're not investing in good quality data. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
And one deal will pay for it all,
Right.
whether it
Yeah.
we
be
say the
a
same thing.
$10,000 list in
Yeah.
data or $1,000. It doesn't matter. So,
Right.
like, if you're running $10,000 worth of data, it's a lot of data. And I hope to God you can close one deal
Mhm.
Right? So
to cover
I
the
would feel bad, I
cost.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're buying $10,000 worth of premium data, you're going to definitely more than enough cover that and then some than letting the things that you're, losing track of because of bad data.
That's right.
With bad data, you're
Mhm.
going to even going to close as many as if you had premium data getting you a hold of people that are
Yep.
running from their problems. Because that's another thing is like certain niche lists,
Absolutely.
they're burying their heads into the sand. They're changing their phone numbers. They're moving. They're running. So
Mhm.
you have to have an edge on how your data is aggregated.
Yep. Yeah, and
Absolutely
Mia,
agreed.
you had mentioned the white glove service approach, sort of. That's where I think we have a lot of alignment, because that is a big need. I think a lot of people really could use the help. They just don't really know. Like in our situation, it's about the data and the spreadsheets, CSV files. A lot of people are like, what is it, like a CVS file? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. We
understand,
get that too. Yeah.
so we have a similar approach. It's the white glove done for you service model for the people that don't really know how to reformat data in Excel to get good results. Because that's another factor some people probably don't consider. When we talk about hit rate or match rate, how many of these records is the system getting a result for? Well, a big part of that is the data that's being put into the system. Is it clean? Or is it a mess? Is it
Absolutely.
is it does it have typos? Is the first and last name and the address all in one column? Like, these are all things that you can run that as is through a system. No system is probably going to be able to identify that because you need clean formatted inputs. So we saw that as a problem, and we primarily address that with our done for you service model as well. So if you send us a messy list, we don't just run it through. We first make sure it's cleaned up, formatted. We split data
Perfect.
in columns, so it is ready to go and primed to go through the system and get the highest possible hit rate. So, because if you're not getting hits at all, then that's an immediate dead end. You don't have anything.
Yeah.
Even if the data is good or bad, it's immediately a missed opportunity if you don't get those hits. Um, and then to the point about the
Wonderful.
price, that's the point about the price earlier. A lot of people, they see like 2 cents or 3 cents, and they think that's this bargain, and they're excited about it. And like you said, well, if it's worthless, if it's old, if it's not reliable, you just wasted that 3 cents, per record.
That's right.
So you always want to be working with the best possible tools, whether that's us or whoever. We do everything we can to position ourselves to be the best. I truly believe that we are the best at what we do. I know you guys believe you're the best at what you do. And data and texting, this is a hard problem to solve,
Yeah.
increasingly at times. And so you want to really be partnered and aligned with the right tools and the right companies that can do all the heavy lifting for you. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. And another thing to add to that good quality data, it doesn't just mean that you're going to get deals, which is the most important thing, right? You want to make a return on your investment. What we see also with outdated data is people on like a carrier watch list. If you have out of date data, most likely you're going to get a high opt-out rate. When that happens, you get on the carrier's radar, and you don't want that to happen. I mean, you really don't. You want to have a healthy campaign. be registered just like any company that's doing marketing, and you really do not want a high opt-out rate. First of all, you don't want it for yourself. Again, you paid for it. Once they opt out, you have no way of contacting these people again from your channel, but you paid for them. You lost that money already. If you just invest in good quality data, it's a little bit of a higher upfront cost, but it pays off. Like we tell people, if you close one deal, just
Yep.
count how many months you can pay off in your subscription costs and the tools you use and everything you use. You won't even feel it after. It's just
Yep.
about biting it and like, okay, I'll pay for it up front. It's all good, but I understand that it needs to be of good quality. So, I mean, that's what I wanted to add on that end. And I know there's like, I think there's one question here in the chat. Sorry for cutting you guys off. There's one that says, do you provide agents information? That's our target. I didn't want to miss it like the other question. So sorry about that.
Do we provide real estate agents? I'm not sure. Like we provide contact data on anyone in the country. Whether or not we identify them as agents, we don't really do that. That's something where if you had a list of agents or names or any of the inputs that our system can use to pull in that data, we can run it through our system and we can get their contact information. But if you're asking if we can pull lists of known agents, we don't really track that internally. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks,
So,
Mike.
yeah, no problem. So I think that it would be a good opportunity to screen share, and I can go through a sample of our data just to show the differences and kind of maybe break down some of the data points and how you could work with that. So I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Go for it.
All right. And hopefully you can see it okay.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to break this down. So where this is essentially what the data will look like when you get it back from us in your CSV files. So where if you look up here at the headers, where it says input, these are all the inputs that were used before it was ran through our system. So essentially that's an example of what you could send to us is these input columns, and then we will append all of this data. And it's a lot. So we'll go through it. But most of our competitors, most of the other vendors, they might give you one phone number. They might give you a few phones, a few emails. They don't give you, most of them don't give you relatives, associates, and all these other.
Yeah.
So again, you can only do so much based on what you have to work with. Our philosophy is we have all of this information and this data. We're not going to nickel and dime and charge, all this extra for every contact. We throw it in, you should be using it. Not everybody chooses to use it, but I think I want to go over some strategies today that would hopefully help show how you can get the most out of this data. And all of this again comes with each record for the same price. So starting here, with the search result column, you can just see if it was a hit. We can show if it's a unique hit or if it was a duplicate hit, or of course, if it was a missed hit and we didn't get any data back. And then input method, this is really important. So in this case, you can see the two input methods that were used. It was either mailing address or subject name and mailing address. So what that really means is the way we've designed our system on the back end. I think a lot of other vendors out there, they basically will take your inputs and they will just send it as is and see if they get a result. We actually have what we kind of refer to as a waterfall fallback system on how we get results. So what that means is if you send, first name, last name of the person, and you send us the mailing address and the property address. And again, these are real estate customers. They're usually going after these property owners. If you send us these inputs, well, we're going to start with the first name and the last name, and then full mailing address and see if we get a result that way. That's going to be
Go over that too, Michael. Go over what our search methods are and what people can actually send over to us to search these properties.
Sure. So we have multiple search methods to make it easy to get the results. So if you have limited inputs, like for example, if you only have a property address, or if you only have a parcel number, like a tax ID number with the county and the county name, we can use that. There's kind of a two-step process to that, because our system will go and pull the owner's information of that property first, and then it will do the skip tracing and get in all the contact data after that. If you want to search, if you already have the owner information like this, the first name, last name, property address, and mailing address that you're interested in, we can use that, which we call that owner search. And that's essentially what you're going to see here and what I'll explain. The data that comes back will always be the same. It's just the input method, the way we get the data, it's up to you. It's up to what inputs you have. We also can do reverse phone searches. We can do reverse email address searches, probably less common, with what most of our customers do. It just really depends on the use case. And we can do address search, where if you just give us an address, we will get you the person currently at that address. So that can be good, for example, if you're trying to find existing tenants, like if you're in real estate and you want to market to tenants as an agent, and maybe they're looking to buy a house, and you want to, you can take you can find all of the absentee or non-owner occupied addresses in your area, in your market. And essentially that means it's probably owned by a landlord, and the person living at that address is going to be a tenant. So we've had people ask us about that, like, hey, I'm an agent. I'm trying to find, existing tenants that might be interested in buying a house. Here's my list of addresses from all the people that I know are landlords, or probably landlords. We run that through address search. We get the top person living at the address currently. So that'll most likely be the tenant. And then don't think am I missing anything else, Cheyenne? Search methods?
Nope. Just one thing I would want to add is something that's unique about SkipMatrix is we're very AI forward. So when someone sends us a list where like all of this is together or jumbled or all in one column, or like there's just delimiters or no delimiters, which a delimiter is like either a space, a period, or a semicolon. To separate the data points, we can use AI to help you format that perfectly if you don't have that information.
Nice.
So what would be unusable data, all of the inputs that we would use to get back like a 100% hit rate or something like that, we could use AI to clean that up and get you the information that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, other than that, that was a perfect intro.
All right. Yeah, so getting back to the input method, the waterfall system that we have. And so if you give us these inputs, and let's say we do an owner search, so we're going to try every combination of these inputs that we can. Our system will automatically do this. We design it that way. So we start with tier 1, which is first name, last name, and then mailing, street, city, state, and zip. If that doesn't get a hit on our system for whatever reason, and let's say it's because maybe there's a empty, like maybe there's a blank or a typo or something missing, it will then fall back to trying just the first name, last name, and the mailing zip code, which is the next most precise that we can get in the system, because there's not going to be, more than likely, there's not going to be a first name, last name that is the same in that same zip code. It's very rare if that happens. And then the next fallback, if that doesn't get a hit, would be first name, last name, and then property address. And then the next one would be first name, last name, and property zip code. And then finally, as a last resort, and this is typically when a first name and last name is not available. Let's say it's an entity like an LLC or a trust. We don't have a first name, last name to go off of. We do a reverse search of the mailing address. And that we found that performs best for sort of piercing the corporate veil and getting us to the person closely associated with that entity, with the trust or the LLC. It works better than actually using registered corporate data. So we've tested both side by side. Reverse searching the mailing address for the entity is going to get you in touch with the right person more often than just going off of the registered agent for the entity. So having said that, it's very important, and I always recommend a good strategy for segmenting your data out with this input method column. So this input method column will tell you which inputs were used by the system to get the hit. As you can see here, where it says mailing address, that's that last step. And for whatever reason, it means that maybe something's wrong with the name or something, but for whatever reason, there's no match in the system on any of those other inputs. And so it goes back to mailing address. It's saying that it found the current person at this mailing address. And it could be whoever this person is supposed to be, or it could be, something else. Let's see if we can go down. Let's take a look at just the mailing address inputs. There's not a lot. It looks like for whatever reason, it might be something with the formatting on the last name. I can see there's like two names. Maybe it's because the middle name's in there, you know what I mean? And it's not really supposed to be. A lot of the times you're going to see LLCs, trusts, and things like that here. So I like to explain to people, you have to approach these a bit differently. And because it might not be the exact person, attached to the property or what you're looking for, it's the person currently at the mailing address, you might want to approach that differently. So if you're calling an LLC or a trust and you don't know for sure if the person that comes back in the system is the right person, that's a little bit of a different approach, and it's probably going to be less reliable than when we know the first and the last name. And that's going to be a really precise way to talk to people. You're going to see a lot more accuracy and reliability on that. There's only 5 records here in this entire sample that kind of defaulted to this. But I tell people to separate those into separate campaigns. Do the mailing address only in one, all the others in another, because the other ones, that it's the first name and last name of the person, and then the mailing address only might be an entity. You don't really want to mix those for the sake of your KPIs. You want to understand that there's a different approach to that. So that's one I wanted to touch on. Any questions about that so far?
I don't think we have any in the chat, but it does. I mean, what you mentioned about like segmenting and KPIs absolutely aligned on that as well. I think that there was one, and I believe you answered it already, though. Can you trace just based on a property APN?
Yes.
Okay.
So parcel number and county. There's 2 ways that we can do it. There's something called a FIPS code, but most people don't know what that is, and they don't usually have that. So we just say the county is easier. Just give us the county name and the parcel number, and our system can pull the property owner information and then skip trace it off of that.
Okay. Awesome. Hopefully that answered Chris's question.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
All good. Okay. So so moving forward, because we had the property address in the inputs, this was an owner search, and because we had the mailing address, we actually run both of those addresses through our USPS validation service. So that'll tell you if it's vacant, yes or no. You can see if it was a successful validation with the USPS where it says yes or no. And it just cleans up and formats the address automatically the way that USPS wants it. So this is already in the format. Most of the direct mail companies out there will do that for you too. We're just also doing that with our data set just to keep it clean and formatted well for you. And that makes it easy if you're uploading it to something like Launch Control and you're not running it through a direct mail service or something. You already have that validated, clean data formatted in a nice way. So we do that also for the mailing address. We will say if it's vacant, which is important because if you are doing direct mail, and you can see a lot of these are not vacant. Sometimes you do see a vacant mailing address. You don't want to send direct mail to a vacant mailing address. It's just going to be returned to sender. So you should be filtering out all of those as well, just to make sure you're not wasting your money on that. We have bankruptcy flags. This is if there's a flag on the prospect. If it says yes, that means there's a bankruptcy on their file. It also has some information about those. And then we get into the subject data. So this is going to be really the main prospect. We confirm the name here. This is the column that you want to use when you're uploading and importing into your dialer or into your texting platform or whatever it is. The subject, first name, subject, last name. Because again, if you give us an entity name, for example, in your inputs, and we have to do the reverse search with the mailing address, and we give you a first and last name of the person associated with that address, you don't want to upload your original name columns with the entity name. You want to do the one that is for the record that we're giving you back. So you have their first and last name here. Also have an age column. So this is where you can segment, and I'll get into strategies about that here after I'm done showing this. But in texting, for example, I'll just give you a preview. Most older people above 85, 75, these are people that are probably not going to be as savvy and using and texting as often as younger people. So there's strategies around that too. You can set up completely different segmented campaign strategies around the age of the subject. And the same goes for the relatives, which I'll get into here in a second. We have the same data points with the age for them as well. We also say if the subject has a deceased flag, yes or no. So essentially, if we go to yes, you can see all these people here are pretty much deceased and going to be a complete waste of your time trying to market to them, and that this is also where those would be otherwise dead ends. But, this is probably a probate situation or some kind of inherited property situation. This is where the relative data really comes in handy. And you want to go to relative 1 and just skip over the subject on these in most cases. Okay, and then Then we get into the phone numbers. So we give the top 5 phones. It'll say the phone type. It'll say the last seen date for each of the phones. We also, when you receive your results from us, we have a format for convenience that gives you all of the data that you see here, but it also, there's one that's a mobiles only file. So it automatically filters out the landlines, and you can just use that to just like simply import into your dialer or your text platform or whatever you're using the phone numbers for. And the same goes for the landlines. We have a landlines only file as well. All right, and then so you go through those top 5 phone numbers. We also have the top 5 email addresses for each subject. We believe that, especially, and again, the way we rank this stuff, logically, phone 1, email 1, that's what we consider to be the best available. And then we have a ranking algorithm that we use internally that scores each of these contact points. So I would say, you know, phone 1, email 1, those are always going to be the best. Phone 2, email 2 could still be good. Phone 3, email 3 could still be good. A lot of our customers, they work on those top 3s as a starting point. Some to be even more efficient, and really, we have some customers that are very sophisticated, and they like to literally do a campaign for just phone 1 and then one for just phone 2, keep them all separate in campaigns so that they can really see over time how each one is performing for them and which ones are worthwhile to continue using at scale. So there's different strategies you can do, or you could just, you know, send it and just do all 5 at once if that's your choice. It's just not probably the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
Because again, naturally, you're going to get a lot better results off of, let's say, phone 1 than phone 5, but it doesn't mean that phone 5 won't be good. And so, to give an example, you know, the way we sort of score and rank, one of those factors is based on recency, how recently it was reported, and by how many of our sources it was reported by. That's where we get that confidence level. So if something is brand new and we've only seen it from one of our sources and it was just reported, it might work its way up the ladder and make it into the top 5, and it might be good, but we just haven't established a high degree of confidence yet to put it at phone 2 or phone 1. So we always tell people, you know, you shouldn't just immediately discount those. If you're struggling to get contact on some of those higher ranked data points, then, you know, try the other ones after that.
And that's how you can see it through the first seen and last seen dates, right?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, and I mean, in some cases you can even see this one, October 21st, 2025. This is email 5. You know, I'm not saying it's good. We don't know, like, until we put it to the test. We just have a certain degree of confidence where we've ranked it at number 5. If we go over to phone 5, there's one from November 6th, 2025. It's pretty recent.
December 1st, yeah, 2025.
Yeah. So again, I mean, this one's 2001, and it's a VoIP, I'm guessing, because we rank it as other phone.
Definitely a pager.
That's probably not going to be a good number, you know, to be honest.
2001.
Yeah, it's probably
definitely a pager.
Yeah, but as you get to phone 1, a lot of these are much more recent. You can see why they're ranked where they are. So that's just some insight on how to use that data. And then we do have IP addresses. It's probably our least commonly used, but this can be used for digital marketing, like ad targeting and stuff like that. If you want to display banner ads through, you know, I think there's one called El Toro or something that does IP targeting. So if you give them a list of IP addresses for the prospects you want to serve ads to, they will target that, and basically these people will start seeing your ads on their browser when they're browsing the web.
Looks like there's somebody who wants to start to cut you off, Mike. Looks like there's somebody that wants to ask a question, Jason. So I'm gonna allow them to talk and we'll see. All right, here we go. Jason, did you have a question for us if you wanted us to answer?
Yeah, is this webinar available to watch after anywhere?
It will be emailed out. It will be emailed out. That's right.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. No worries. No worries. Thank you.
All right. So, and then moving forward, now we're getting into the relatives. So relative 1, you can see the possible relative type here. A lot of these are spouses. Really, really important to target these, because essentially this is now doubling your probability of getting a key decision maker in the household. You know, I think a lot of people just immediately discount the relative data, and they're just talking to the subject. They're trying to call the top 2 numbers or something. You're leaving so much on the table, because essentially a spouse, depending on your reason for calling or texting or whatever the marketing. Essentially, the spouse is another key decision maker in that process. Look at
That's
every
right.
single one of these is pretty much a spouse. You know what I mean? You can go down here, and there's just so many spouses in this list. And you can see the different types. There's like parent, child. We usually put them at relative one. Again, it's a similar ranking algorithm. We rank, spouse gets a very heavily weighted ranking because that's going to be very close to the main subject. But sometimes it could be a child living in the household, a parent living in the household. And by the way, every single person that we sell data for is 18 and older. This is a compliance thing. So you're not going to see like 12-year-olds on here.
I was going to ask. I was like, I hope they're 18, right?
Yeah,
8-year-old.
yeah. So
I think the better word for that would be offspring.
Sure. Yeah, maybe not child.
Toddler, the toddler of the family.
We don't make the rules.
We'll have to look into that. But yeah, essentially you can see how to use all of this data, and this is really key. And every single relative, is a relatively close relative. Maybe not the spouse, but we can go over to, let's go over to like relative 2. Parent, child, you're seeing a lot more of that. It's still close, but you're not really seeing the spouse there. The spouse is usually going to be in that relative 1 almost every time if there is a spouse available. And then similarly, I don't need to go back to the other data points for the relatives. It's the exact same as the subject. It's like you're getting the same profiles you did for the main subject, but for each relative and associate, it's going to be those top 5 phones, top 5 email addresses. The only difference is we don't give the IP addresses for these ones because, again, we just felt like it's not really as useful, and most people aren't going to use that. We have to try to find ways where we can keep our data set as lean as possible because we're already given like 400 columns of data, so we just don't want to overwhelm you too much. But
also, relatives aren't the people you're targeting. You're trying to get a hold of the subject, so it would be useless anyway.
IP targeting doesn't really make sense for relatives.
Yeah.
Okay. So yep, and then you can see the age on the relatives as well. So I guess you could technically similarly segment. We don't do deceased flags. This is something that we're trying to look into implementing for relatives because, like, you can see here, some of these people are 101. I would guess that I'm probably not going to market to that person. I mean, they might be alive. We'd have to look a little deeper and probably run it through our system at a main profile level to see if we have a deceased flag on them. But you can use these age filters again to sort of strategize around that. If you see somebody that's over 100, you're probably not going to want to try to text them or, you know what I mean? Call them.
Yeah. I mean, you never know.
You never know. I guess you never know. All right. So yeah, it's just going to be the same thing. We have relatives 1 through 5. You're going to see the same data points. So I'll go over to the associates. And we get to associate 1. So yeah, like I said before, associates, that's going to be neighbors, friends, coworkers, tenants, landlords, past neighbors. We have a lot of insight around this. And, we put associates after relatives because relatives will always be, I think, logically a better starting point than going to, friends and neighbors and, trying to market to them. But especially in real estate, there's some really sticky like situations and really hard to reach prospects and owners and just really hard to get information on anything sometimes. And so this gives you the competitive edge because now you can go without having to go walk the property and look around and kind of figure this out with boots on the ground. You could call the neighbor up. You could call, other people up and maybe they could just give you some information.
The past neighbor, as it says.
Right. Hey, what happened there? Why can't I get a hold of this person? I don't know. But yeah, so there's a lot. We're giving you all the tools as much as we can that if you're being strategic with it, you know how to work with it, really, you should be able to increase your probability of contact or at least getting some information that you need on that record. You can dive really deep. So that's where depth of data, that's like one of our main focuses. And yeah, awesome. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's going to be the same. You go through associates 1 through 5, same data points. So it's just a lot of data. It's a lot to work with. And yeah, we think it's really unique.
Okay, awesome. Well, Mike, this was awesome. And honestly, it was really nice for me to see because usually when you have platforms like this, they kind of show like their platform and not the end result. And this was nice. It was really nice. It was different. And I think that it gives you more insight into, okay, what am I actually buying?
Right.
That is what I'm buying, right? That was cool. And I have one question from my end. What constitutes like the first scene and the last scene? Because I think that's the first time I saw it on a list. I mean, from my end, what the users have shared with me and what I've seen, I think that is the first time that I've seen it. So if you want to elaborate just a little bit on that, and then I'll take over from the launch control perspective and go over things like that.
Sure. So the first scene date, that is just going to be the very first date that we ever got it from any one of our sources internally. And then the last scene date is the last time we've seen it from any of our sources. And we internally were using that for our ranking and our scoring algorithm that gives us a higher degree of confidence that we should position it where it is. So for example, if something was first seen a while ago and not just yesterday, but it was, it was last seen yesterday or recently. So there's a large range of time from when we first saw it to how recently we last saw it. We consider that a stability metric that we're going to use for ranking. So we have a high degree of confidence that this is a stable, good number. We just saw it yesterday, but we also have seen it for the last 10 years from our sources. So, whereas if we just saw one yesterday for the first time, that's where it might end up at phone 5 or something. It might be good. We just don't have that confidence yet to be able to say that this is for sure better than phone 1 or whatever.
Very nice. I like it. I think it's cool. And I think it gives a lot of transparency into your ranking system as well. So I am one to value transparency when I'm talking to people and users and just generally how to function as a business. So that's good. I like it. I like it a lot. Does anyone have any questions for Mike right now that they'd like for him to answer, or Cheyenne here? If not, I will take over, and then if people have a question, they're free to ask. So in terms of launch control, we are a SMS marketing platform mostly targeted towards real estate investors. That's basically the basis of the platform. What we do as a team and what we do as a company is what Mike mentioned in the beginning, the white glove service. We do a lot of real estate education for our dedicated, because some people call them customer success managers. We call them text marketing experts, because I think that we truly do a lot of education with them where they know how to do market research. They know how to help you if you don't have anyone to help you around, right? With like data segmentation, who you should reach out to, what filters should you use, who should you target, They also do a lot of, I don't like to call it hand holding, but I'm going to use it as it's like an industry term, hand holding, right? If you need it and if you need someone to walk you through every single step, that's what they're here for. That's what they're here to do, to help you out. And they want to get to know you. They want to get to know your business. They want to get to know the goals that you're trying to reach. For example, most of the conversations that we hold towards the end of quarter 4 and beginning of quarter 1 is what results do you want to reach? And let's work with your dedicated TME on how to reach them. So that's kind of that aspect of us, is that we don't, we hate, for example, my theory is I hate chat support. And so we do a lot of support over the phone, over a video call, so that you feel like we're there to help you out. You get to know me as a person and not just as a chat bot. So that's one of the things in terms of launch control. We have a lot of people that love to use it because of that and because of the results of the platform. Now, to tie it all in together, we also have a done for you service, which is a good thing, right? You can use one done for you and another done for you service from both platforms. On our end, it's called Launch Leads. So basically, the Launch Leads team is there. They handle all template, compliance, sending, importing. And I think I mentioned templates from the beginning part of your business. The only thing that you do is you communicate with them, you let them know what your expectations are, and they work with you. You have a lot of check-in calls. They also do in terms of like check-in calls for your growth, for your results, for your ROI, KPIs. Everything is done for you, and you work with the team. They are essentially your team in that case, and they want to get to know you. Some of the things with launch leads, which is really good, and like when you compare with using the platform by yourself, is that they do have 163% higher conversation rate than the platform average. So we've made that team super efficient, and we've literally chosen the cream of the crop to be able to work on that team. These people are very hardworking, and they have really clear expectations, and they love to work with the users as well. So I think that's the reason why. And they can get through them a lot quicker, because if you're paying for done for you service, that is quite a bit more money, but then you want to get good quality data, you want to get good quality templates, you want to do this. And I think all of that plays into conversation rates and the success rates that you have as well. They also have a 2-minute and below average reply time on 95% of the conversations. So the good thing there is that your leads, that when they answer, they're going to get that reply right away. What we say, normally what people say is like you should capitalize on that 10 minutes, but honestly, I think you should do it within less time, because in reality, when you're receiving that text, when you're sending that out, you have to remember that the person receiving it is they're on their phone, right? And so usually when you receive a text, it's either going to catch your attention and you're going to answer that person, or you're just going to put your phone away. So that's why if it catches their attention and they answer you, you need to be answering within that 10 minutes. Now, again, the team has a 2-minute and less reply time. So I think that's a really good thing for the team itself. And one of the things I also wanted to highlight mostly about the launch leads team is that recently, this is one of our, like, we do a lot of testimonials and case studies with our users, because again, we'd love to get to know, what's up, what are you guys doing? And one of the things, and I'm going to share this in the chat here, is there is a lady who was like 73 years old, and she, after like 18 months, she was like, I'm going to try it again. She came to launch leads and she started making deals and she started making a lot of money, and she was so happy. And the cool thing is that, again, she's 73. So I think that's a great thing. And the team is there to help her with like integrations, technical stuff. It's a support, right? You have a goal, we want to help you reach it. And that is the reason that we work with people just like SkipMatrix, where they offer those things where you get the support, whether you're a one-man band or you're a huge company. And I think that that's one of the things that's super important, and we like to make sure that everyone feels supported in that way. So I think that's it for launch leads. I like to give a little bit of a highlight there. They're near and dear to my heart. But to kind of give a flow, as you can see, I'm going to share my screen into the launch control platform, and you guys let me know when you're able to see it. And I'm going to head right over to the direct import.
And Mia, real quick, I wanted to also ask you, because I know we discussed this previously, but I don't know if we were going to talk about this today. I believe it was with launch leads. You guys had a case study. You had somebody that working with SkipMatrix data and launch control. I think it was the launch lead service. They saw a big boost. They saw a big difference, just switching data providers and working with that service. Did you want to go over that at all? I didn't know if that was something that we were going to discuss. Just to kind of get an example.
Yes, I wanted to go over it, and I was thinking to maybe see if I have some time at the very, very, very end, just to see here. Give me just a moment. I wanted to go over it, and I wanted to leave enough time so that people can see kind of like so they can see kind of like what the process looks like, and then we'll see if I have time. If not, what I was thinking, maybe we could share it with people when we send over the recording and everything, if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, just check in. Feel free, to talk about it later. I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss over that.
All good. You're good. No worries. And my internet was a little bit shady there for a little, so hopefully you guys heard everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in terms of launch control, when you get into the platform, I'm going to start from the direct import section, and then I'll take you through that whole process. But this is basically where you would begin, where you would start your journey. I've already pre-uploaded the list just to make sure that we have it here and we kind of keep everything efficient. But what you would do is you would click this import list button here that I'm hovering over, and then you would either simply drag and drop your file, or you can click and you can choose from your file. So that's super, super simple. Once you do that, it will take you to a simple mapping system, a simple mapping sheet. From here, the only thing it will tell you is, so the launch control field, what that would look like, first name, last name, email. And then from here, you get all of the columns that you get from your list to be able to map them out with your launch control import. So for example, I'm not going to go through all of them, but for example, if we go back to, I think right here, I wanted to go through the subject, as you said, Mike, that's what we should upload. So we have the first name here, and then we have, let me go down here. Then we have the subject last name and so on and so forth. So that's what you would do. The same thing with email, mailing address, mailing city, state, zip, and the same thing for property address, city, state, and zip. Now, with launch control, you get to see a little bit of a preview here, so you know kind of what you're uploading, but I'll get to a little bit of segmentation just a little bit later here. And again, with launch control, per prospect, when you're uploading it, you're allowed to upload 3 phone numbers. Now, the way that our duplicate scrubbing system works is that the duplicates are scrubbed by phone numbers. So if you have, let's say, 5 phone numbers for somebody and you want to upload 5 phone numbers for them, you can do that. It would just have to be like twice, because for compliance purposes, it's a 3 phone number per like send. But you're able to do that, so we give you that option when you are uploading your list. And it's, again, pretty simple. Here we also have landowner fields. So we have APN, property, county, and acreage here as well. Once you map those fields, this is what is going to show. You're going to get your list uploaded, and then you're going to be able to see the total prospects, the mobile phone numbers, the landlines, litigators, and DNCs are automatically scrubbed, and you're going to be able to see how many existing matches you have when you upload your list. Now, some of these things are going to show you the quality of your data, right? And if you need to do a little bit more data cleanup. For example, existing matches, you ideally shouldn't have any existing matches, because that means that you're uploading data that you've already uploaded into the platform. And if it's something that you're paying for a couple of times, it shouldn't be an existing match. So again, you should have up-to-date, clean data. If you've already paid for it and skipped it and uploaded it into the platform, that shouldn't be happening. And then here as well with landlines, one of the top complaints that we get is, oh my God, like I have a list of 5,000 phone numbers. Why did the platform read 3,500 of them as landlines? And we tell them, again, because they're landlines. So you need to make sure that you're not getting landlines when you're paying for that data, unless you want to use it, right? When you're using it for an SMS platform, you want mobile phone numbers. And that's one of the things that people are frustrated about. So we try to increase the awareness and education there of like why it's important to have a provider, or to have a skip tracing service where they're transparent, you know what you're getting and you know what you're paying for. When you do that, you have pretty much transparent cost on your end, what it's costing you to kind of run those campaigns. So anyway, that's what kind of, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's actually something that we put a lot of emphasis on, because we actually split the mobiles and the landlines for you as a courtesy and deliver it to you that way at SkipMatrix. So if you want to take just the mobiles and input them into a platform like this, we make it super easy.
And I saw that, and I was going to mention that because really it's something that is awesome. Usually what I've seen is that doesn't happen, right? It's phone number 1, 2, 3, 4, and how many else, and there's no type. They upload it, and then they're like, well, why did I pay you this much money for something that's more than half of these phone numbers are landlines? I can't use this if I'm only doing SMS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing too, is we try to keep the ranking of the phone number. So like, let's just say you open up just the mobile only file. If there is a mobile in phone 1, but there's also a mobile in phone 3, you'll know where it lies in the ranking so that you can see that transparently.
Yes.
You have the choice to do that. So like if you can see, their mobile phone numbers are all in like, phones 4 and 5, that means there's probably a lower likelihood that you're going to get a hold of them, but at least you know that. It's not just shoving everything into phone 1 and you have this higher expectation. So we try to split that, show that transparency, but also give you the convenience of using either or.
Yep. And I think Brandon had a question about this section, Mia.
Let me see. Sorry, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see. I can't see all the chat. So yeah, Brandon, go ahead. Do you want me to allow you to talk, or you're good with typing? Just let me know and I can set that up for you. Gonna wait just a few minutes to see. Easier talk. Okay, no worries. Let me just allow you in. Here we go. All right. Here we go, Brandon. You're good to start talking.
Hi, I just have a question about this area. So when I get my data from SkipMatrix, the data that I put in is from like another third party, like Property Radar, for example. And then when I get all that data, I skip, but I don't have thousands of dollars to invest in SkipMatrix right away. So my question was, in the app, the launch control, can I upload, like, let's just say 10,000 records that are not skipped yet, and then upload like chunks at a time of what I already have skipped that I know what I need to skip, or what would you recommend, or if also Mike had any suggestions about that?
On my suggestion, I would upload only skip data into launch control. So when you're ready to market, that's when the data goes in. In
Gotcha.
terms of making sure, like, okay, what I skipped and what I didn't, from what I saw and Mike and Shan can talk about that, I believe they have a system where you can see like if it's already skip traced or hasn't been skip traced. But yeah, definitely that's something you need to look out for so you're not doing double the work as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was just my question. But then once I upload it and it's skipped, then it'll already show me, hey, this is already skipped.
Yeah, Brandon,
Yeah.
I think that it's really more of a CRM thing, like, which neither of us really focus on too much. But yeah, I think the best thing for launch control would be just to upload that skip data, keep tracking the data segmentation in a CRM, of some kind.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
and
good. Okay. Thank
I
you.
do just want to clarify one thing really fast. The duplicate logic that we have is for within the file, not previous skip trace data. So if you're uploading a file, it's going to tell you if there's a duplicate hit because it's showing up more than once in the same file. Not that it's been skip traced with us. We are a per invoice order processor. So like we're not going to keep track of like an account of all of your data. So just keep that in mind. So if you need to manage your duplicates, I would do that on a separate platform, either through a CRM or a third-party service that's like literally just for list suppression.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No worries,
and
Brandon.
I just wanted to also clarify, because we've been asked this before, the reason that we actually do only duplicate logic for the file itself and not for previous duplicates from other orders and other files in the past is because of the nature of data. It's always changing. Someone could change their phone number today or yesterday. If we were just giving you the data from the last time you pulled that from a month ago, you could be missing on those opportunities. So just to keep things clean, we don't actively track previous duplicates.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Mike, for clearing that up. And thank you, Brandon, for your question as well. I think it's super important. Again, I mean, there's no fear of uploading it again into launch control. Again, we have those compliance parameters. So it's scrubbed by phone number. You don't have that fear, but I get it that it's a little bit frustrating where you want to make sure everything is clean. I would just say, again, keep everything named correctly and the dates and stay on top of it. And I think you'd be good. I mean, there is some things like and again, whether you're within launch control or not, your dedicated team will help you out with this is like, if there's options, if you want to just use Google Sheets, right? You need something more cost effective. We can help you. We have some things that helps, with those duplicates as well. But that's why it's important to talk to your TME. Everything you tell them, they'll try to help you out. But basically, yeah, that's what the direct import section looks like. It's pretty easy to use. And one of the things that that we see again with users is that the improper mapping section that happens with users sometimes. So what I like to see when you were showing the data, Mike, is that it's really nicely named. I mean, you really cannot make a mistake there. With some of the other platforms that you've seen is it's really not that user friendly, right? So you'd have to have some prior knowledge or some experience. This is really, really nice. And I like the way that it's cleaned up. But what they do is they're like, oh my God, I just sent out a campaign of like 3,000 people. And I noticed that the property address was put in the first name section when I mapped it out. And again, that's part of having clean data. That's part of having a good support system and just again, it's delivered to you in a very user-friendly way. And I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. In terms of launch control, just to get back on the platform, that's where you would import your data. So let's say your data is imported right now, you have everything, you're good to go. One thing what we suggest in terms of strategy, and Mike mentioned that, is segmenting your data. Why you should segment your data is not only it's easier to keep clean, and it's not only easier to keep track of, return on investment in your KPIs. It's also about the strategy that you use in terms of your content, in terms of your templates and things like that. You want to make sure that when you're reaching out, you are basically selling something to that person. When you sell something, you have to have a really good value pitch. You don't know how many other people are reaching out to that same person as well. So you want to make sure that you're the one that stands out. If you have good segmented data in terms of age, in terms of property type, owner, if it's a relative, if it's the actual owner themselves, there's so many things. And I saw that within the sheet, which is really good to touch on the segmenting part. If you segment out your outreach, and that's how you upload your sheets into Launch Control or what you're using to market things out, you're able to really nail down on the strategy and the content, the copy that you use. When you do that, not only will you look like a professional business reaching out, but it looks like you actually spent your time getting to know who you're reaching out to, right? It's
Absolutely.
not just blasting everything away.
So, yeah, and actually it's something that I've always tried to teach like our assistants or people who are running orders or doing customer support, or even when I would speak to somebody, is especially in this world where everything is so automated and it's just like churn and burn, like everything is so quick, like trying to run through calls, run through text, just trying to get as much ROI in as small amount of time as possible. Having a personal touch is so unique, and having that rapport building is so important. So when you're looking at someone that's older, and then also like most people are pulling a list that is a motivator, such as like, let's just say like a tax delinquent list. But then you go and look into the data and the metrics that we give you on those people. You're seeing their age, if they're deceased, if it's like a probate list or something. You go to their relatives, you see how many kids they have, you see if they've had financial hardship, you see if they're an out-of-state owner, if they have all these different properties. And they're just accumulating all of these, what we would call motivators, to have some sort of financial relief. You're seeing and painting the picture of this person. And so then you get to go in as this like professional or this savior in a way, like, I am the authority on this subject. Let me come in and help you. I'm also seeing that you have all of these problems. I can help you fix this. And I've taken the time to know your personal situation. Let me come in and help you. And it's always the people over profit, methodology. So like we try to teach that to people. And whenever I've seen a customer go and implement that, their ROI is crazy because they just come back with so much more connection to their prospects, and people are actually feeling heard. That's really all sales is. It's an emotional thing. And this isn't even sales. This is honestly acquisition. So it's like when you can hear someone's problems, they'll just go with you because they like you more, not because you're even offering something better. It's just you're hearing them and you're seeing them for everything that's going on. So that's why all of these metrics are very important.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, for us, like, we tell people just the general layout of the way SMS works has changed a lot in years, in frequent years. Like you have to do a lot more to like get a knock on the door and for them to actually open the door for you than you would have a couple of years ago. And so that's why it's important for you to gain their trust. And once you do that, and once they see that you're able to have a respectful two-way conversation with them, you actually put effort into that, and you're a legit business, you're a legit person, they're way more willing to work with you. And again, what you mentioned, no matter if someone, let's say, offers them a little bit more, but they know that they're working with a good person, they're in good hands, their home is in good hands. And so that's again something that I cannot like touch on more. And I think also just business wise, I think recently businesses have kind of lost that touch of the human aspect of doing customer service. And so that's where I think both of us can align of, right? And I think that's where we can align of like, I don't want that. I want to make sure that I know what you need and how we can help you get it. I think that's kind of, we're both on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually my assistant is actually on this call right now, just supporting us. She's like literally listening to this. texting me and saying that she's like, she loves this and looking great. That's me. She just texted me. Like, she's on
So
here
cute.
and she's a human being that's like working, and like she's the rock of this company as well. And like, then she's on here supporting us, listening, learning also, and then transferring the information that we're teaching her to our customers who aren't hearing it from anybody
Exactly.
else. And then, it's just that human connection is so important, especially in a world where like everything is, AI and automated.
Absolutely.
It's really important. Hi, Allie.
Absolutely. Hello. Well, that's really sweet to hear, and I think that I love it, and I think that people love to work with good people and good companies, and yeah, I love to hear it. I love it so much. But yeah,
Yeah.
to go over my short overview that was literally supposed to be like 5 minutes. Yeah, you import your list within to Launch Control, and then what you would do is you would create your campaigns, and we've created these campaigns so that you're actually able to segment your list as kind of like a file management system. Here, it kind of looks a little bit confusing and a little bit messy, and you're like, oh my God. And here in the campaign section, you can control your title. So we have, for example, Zombie Properties Tampa, New Jersey, Dallas Tire Landlords, whatever it may be, like things like that is where you can really name your campaigns in a segmented way. And that's where you can keep track. The good thing is why you should do that. For example, let's say this is my little test here. You go into your campaigns and you can see all these statistics, and we're working on getting more statistics out to our users. You can see delivered responses, response percentage. You can see a breakdown of your leads. So again, that really goes into your KPIs. It's not something you have to track unless you want to. We have some users who just like to do it outside of the platform. If not, again, you have it here. You know exactly which properties, which segment is producing the most leads for you just by clicking there and making sure you have segmented lists. That's all you need. Here you can also see batch reports, your prospect, and which market as well, which is really good so that you know where you're performing the best, especially if you're beginning and you have the luxury of reaching out to multiple markets as well. That would be campaigns. And of course, it's going to load when I will try to make it quick. That's great. But yeah, that would be for campaigns. And then once you have all that set up and you have templates, which our team also does help with template build out too. We know it's kind of like a touchy thing. We have copywriters, you can purchase templates. We support in that as well. You can go to your batches. Once you're ready to send out your batch, it's simple. You click on create new batch, you select your campaign. So this is why it's important to have those segmented campaigns. Then you'd select your template, you would select your batch size, and you would just send out those messages. It's super easy. We've made that process super easy and time saving so that you can actually spend your time where it matters, which is in the inbox. That's where your conversations happen. That's where all of the money making happens, which people love. So why not? And this is also what I wanted to touch base on why you need good data, why you need to segment it. Everything needs to be on point. We've recently implemented from user requests a two-way dialer. So you can call somebody, they can call you back. What happens is that sometimes, and we've seen that within users, and when you're using generic lists, like you're sending out 10,000 of whatever and wherever, and you're using generic templates, when someone calls you back and you answer to them and you have them open, let's say this is the person that called you back, you really don't know much about them. You really don't. Like, they're calling you and they're basically cold calling you instead of they're calling you, and you can have that warm handoff, that warm outreach. Why can you do that? Because you have the campaign, you know who they are, what age group do they fall into, what property type, any of those qualifiers, you have it right here in your campaigns. You also have it right here in your initial text message. If you're using that segmentation and everything is targeted, once Melvin reaches out to you, you know exactly how to approach them. The tone you should be using. If it's someone younger, you might be a little bit more casual. If it's someone older, you might be a little bit more formal. Again, it gives you that pre-qualifier for you, so you know how to reach out to them. And that's all goes into creating trust and being able to close people faster and them willing to work with you. So again, when you have good quality segmented data and you know that you're confident in it and it gives you those results, you put it in a good platform that has a good reputation, that's very clear on what you need to do, and you have segmented templates that are pre-done and pre-filtered to who you're reaching out to, you're really bound to get some really good results. So I think that's kind of the magical potion that I would tell to people. And honestly, I think that's where I would end it so I don't overwhelm people. But recently, again, if anyone wants to know, you can, I think Marco put the link here, and that's launch control. So hi, Marco. That's launch control here within the platform. He put the link that you guys can use to sign up, or you can just book a call with our launch leads team, and he put the link there as well, just to get a little bit more insight into, I don't know, some features that you want to see, some new things that we're coming out with. We have a lot of huge plans for the platform as well to make it new and exciting for you guys. But that's pretty much it from my end. This was super exciting, and I wanted to give it back to Mike and Cheyenne to see if there's anything they wanted to add or any questions they wanted to ask specifically for me.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to real quick summarize sort of our key data segmentation tips to make sure that your customers are able to track clean KPIs, analytics, and the campaign performance and optimize from there. So, talking about texting, I wanted to go through each one. So just real quick, the age metric that we give for each person under 55, anyone aged 55 or under, obviously going to be more highly effective with texting. Those people are going to be probably preferring texting over calls. And, it kind of diminishes from there. 55 to 64, still pretty effective. 65 to 74, it's lower. It just really kind of depends. Anybody over 85, that's where you might want to strategize a little differently. It's going to be essentially useless for texting those people with this kind of way. And that's where you could possibly look at the relatives and you could create campaigns around that. So, that's just one of the examples. Again, input method is important to track. We give you that input method. I would recommend filtering out any of the records that say mailing address only in the input method. Those are probably going to be your entities, LLCs, trusts. It's going to be a little bit of a different approach and might be a little less reliable. So it's good not to mix those so you can see the performance and KPIs separately on your campaigns. And then if I was just going to recommend, because texting is transactional, you're paying per text.
That's right.
Don't do phone 1 through 5 all at once, right? Separate your campaigns. Start with phone 1, see what kind of feedback you get. If you really want to get, keep it clean and efficient, give it a little bit of lead time before you hit phone 2 on a separate campaign. Filter out the ones where you've obviously already made contact and that you have an answer or a reply, you've made contact with the right person, but you just do it sort of in a wave-based approach. So you're not just doing them all at once. Start with phone 1, then phone 2. If you want to go through all phone 1 through 5 on the subject, I don't know if it's always going to be necessary to do that.
That's right.
You can, but
you don't need to.
Right, you definitely don't need to. After you've exhausted that with phone 1 through 5 on the main subject, that's where you could try relatives. You could bring in relatives, especially that relative 1. And it's the same kind of thing. Relative 1 is probably going to be a spouse most of the time. That's another key decision maker. If another vendor isn't giving you relative data and they're not giving you that spouse, your probability just goes down on your contact rate. If you can use that data, especially the spouse, you're at least 2xing your probability of making contact. So that's just kind of the last little piece I wanted to say on segmentation. The more you can segment the data points and approach it, the cleaner your KPIs, the better you will be able to track performance of each data point. And over time, you can optimize your strategy that way.
Absolutely. And what you mentioned for paying per text, one of the cool things with launch control, I think one of our strongest value points is that when you sign up, you actually pay for a packet of segments, right? So we have from 750 daily to 12,000 daily on the current available plans. And what that means is that, let's say the segments are messages. What that means is that you're only using those segments for initial messages. And follow-ups to non-responders. Like they have never answered to initial messages. Your incoming messages and your outgoing messages after someone has responded, along with drips, which we can go over whenever you guys, whoever is here is interested to get some more information. That does not go against your daily and monthly limit. That is unlimited. You can reply and get replies as many times as you want after that person replies to you. And the drips, which are like automated follow-up messages, they also don't go against your daily limit. So that's the good thing. You have a little bit more room. But again, if you're just starting out and you have those 750 daily, I would not maybe send 5 messages to one person with 5 phone numbers. So that's why, again, it's good. You have that confidence rating. You know what's good quality. You know it's up to date. I mean, somewhere in the future, you might be able to have a little bit more luxury to kind of test things out. But the more targeted everything is, the more better your KPIs and your ROI is just overall.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, I did put up like 2 QR codes. The first one was how Launch Control and SkipMatrix work together. So hopefully you guys were able to scan that. If not, you can always reply to the email. We'll be able to send everything out. And here is the same link that Marco shared in the chat that you guys can get signed up. That's the same QR code here. So does anybody have any questions for myself, Cheyenne, or Mike here at the very end? And I think we can just wait for a couple of minutes to see if anyone has any questions. And if not, then we will be leaving you on this fine Tuesday.
Yeah. And I also just want to say, while we wait for that, Cheyenne and I are very hands-on with the business, and especially Cheyenne, she works really closely on the customer experience and customer support side. So if you email support@skipmatrix.com or you chat in with us on our web chat or you call us, I'm going to hear about any issue, any feedback, anything. So if you have anything that you want us to know about, you can just reach out to our support and we're going to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And our order process is also extremely self-explanatory. If you just go to our website before you even start with Launch Control, if you want to just get a list in before that, you can just go to our website, fill out the form, send it over to us, and we'll do all the rest of the legwork from there.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. I think that we've answered a couple of questions along the way. And again, if anyone has any, I think there is. From what I see, no questions, but Brandon did tell us great work and great presentation. So thank you. Okay, I see. Quick question. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
My bad. My bad. There we go. Okay, Brandon, let me let you talk again. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Just my last question is,
oh, you're good.
How often would you recommend to, because I know Mike was talking about how the data gets updated. He says not as frequent as we would think, but what would you guys recommend, like a year, 2 years, as far as like, updating the data?
It's really preference, and it's probably a mix of budget and what works for you. We have some people that are really aggressive we have customers that are skip tracing with us weekly. Sometimes
okay.
Yeah, sometimes even more than once each week. Usually that's like the smaller volume stuff. We have, I would say on average, our higher volume, like, I don't know, you could say 10,000. We have some that do hundreds of thousands. It's just really about your market presence, what you're doing with your strategy. The higher volume stuff, I mean, in general, I think you want to be working this data, making several passes at the data, because it takes 5 to 7 points or more of contact, touch points, where before you might get a hold of that person at times. It really just depends. It's also good, to rotate different times of the day. Some people might respond in the morning, some people in the evening, lunchtime. You should always, every time you run through that campaign again with that same list on that additional touch point, you should try something new. Don't just hit them at the same time on the same day, or have rotation in there, so that'll increase your probability of catching them at a different time. But to answer your question, it's really a matter of budget and preference. Like if you have the budget, I would say if you're trying to be more conservative, like quarterly at the most. I wouldn't update only once a year or so. That is, again, with real estate especially, these people could be changing their number. They could be getting bombarded by calls all the time, and they could go and change their numbers much more frequently than that. But if you're doing higher volume, you could get away with quarterly for sure. You're still going to do get a pretty good outcome, I think, from that. If you're doing more targeted niche stuff and smaller volume, I would say maybe monthly. That's just what I would throw out there. But again, it's very much about your use case and preferences.
And
Cool.
Brandon, real quick, just to clarify, was your question also based on how many times you should skip trace a list? Because I know you were also previously talking about duplicates and like keeping up with your data. Is that what you were also talking about?
Yeah, basically, but yeah, that's what I was basically asking is how often should I, reskip my data?
I would say every 3 to 6 months. I've actually talked about that before in the past with some people where if they're going to skip trace data that they've already skip traced, but they haven't gotten a hold of a certain part of that list, skip trace it every 3 to 6 months to keep hammering at them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea with how he said the 5 different points at a different time. I think that's what I'm going to Thank you so much.
Okay. Yep. And I think we have a couple of other questions for follow-ups. Michael, if you want to ask.
Mia, maybe this is obviously your area of expertise, but I was going to say we also have done some pretty recent research on all of this. We like to keep our finger on the pulse with this stuff. Best times that we found in research for SMS and texting, and Mia, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. From the research, it says that the best days are typically Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Monday is considered one of the worst days just because people are overwhelmed with the beginning of the week tasks and things like that. Best time is usually early evening, like you said. It's like that 5 to 6 p.m. Those texts, according to industry research, texts sent at 5 p.m. typically outperform the 10 a.m. text by about 18 to 20%. And then I would just say, and then that doesn't mean don't try on the other days, don't try the other times. Just keep that in mind and consider that according to the industry research, that is usually where people are most responsive. And Mia, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
I think you got it pretty much spot on. What we do, because for us, there are people, you have your daily limits. So we tell people, Monday to Friday is a good time to text. However, again, they have on the platform, on the dashboard, they can see how many messages they've sent out and how many responses they get based on the day. So if they see that some days work out better for them, absolutely, that's part of your KPIs. You need to know when you're getting the most responses. That's when you send out your messages. We also have clear guidelines per state as well. Some states, for example, they don't want you to send messages on Sundays, or even if it's not a law, it's just something we recommend. We know those people, right? And so again, we do have recommendations, and we send out notifications for holidays as well. We don't, for example, Christmas, we don't allow it because again, there are things that we want to make sure that people respect.
Boundaries.
In terms of, absolutely. And then, I think that's part of that quality, right? So some of the things for the times of the day is, it really depends. If you are a one-man band and you got to do it before you get to your other job, send it out. Send it out in the beginning of the day. We have a mobile app. You can always reach back out to those people. If you have a VA or you're good and this is your full-time job, what we say is you should space out your messages throughout the day. Number one, it's good. It's a good compliance practice. And number two, I think actually I would put number one and number two on the other one. But in the morning when people are having their breakfast, they're usually scrolling on their phones. They're okay. You might not get a lot of replies, but sometimes there'll be someone chirpy in the morning. In the afternoon, people are also on their lunch breaks. You might not get a lot of responses, but you also might as well. So it's all good. I think that's also a good time. But what you mentioned is that time after work when people are relaxing, you would think that you don't want to send messages out then, but usually that's when people are relaxed. The stress of the workday is over. They're at home. If they got kids, they picked them up already. They already ate supper. They're chilling. They're okay to have a conversation if you want to. So that is really the best time. Again, if you don't have the luxury, it's all good. You work with your TME, we'll get you there. But if you do, definitely the best time to send out the messages. So
yeah, and the beauty of the beauty of texting over cold calling is that you don't have to worry quite as much about when you're doing the calling, because with calling you either get them or you don't. With the texting, it's there. They might get to it a little later, so it's not quite as
and you can follow up.
Yep, you can follow up. And yeah, I think that at the end of the day, people either want what you're offering or they don't. You're going to get the people that are just like, don't talk to me. And even when they're relaxing, even when they're in a
That's
good
right.
place. Yeah. But if they are actively looking for what you're offering, let's say you want to sell their house or something, you want to hit them when they're relaxing and they're kind of not
That's
stressed
right.
out. That's why I think the early evening works pretty well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. I would completely
I
agree.
agree.
One thing that I wanted to touch base on, and then we'll let everybody go, is that case study that Mike mentioned. I wanted to just share it with everybody here as well. So I'll give a few minutes for people to save it, open it, for you guys. And I think that's it. I think that I would love, like I told you guys, I can go on for days of talking about this stuff, which I truly love my job and I love working with people. But I think that, other people have other things to do, so I don't want to keep them waiting. But I could be here all day talking about this stuff. So anything you guys would like to add on last minute before we let everybody go here as well?
Nothing from me, unless anybody has any other questions. I think that
Okay.
covers it.
Awesome.
No,
Awesome. Well, this was awesome. And I loved getting to do this with you guys and hopefully many more opportunities in the future. And all the attendees, you guys were really awesome. And thank you for, just being there to participate with us. This was awesome. That's it. That's all from me.
absolutely. We're excited to partner with Launch Control. We've loved you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys as well. And I wish you all a very, very good rest of your day and your week.